The Scroll of Fire, Stream of Conscious Prose by Daniel Scott Batten. The fragrance of asking is the scent of wonder, I thought as I could smell the labyrinthian tones of lackadaisical flowers wafting in my aureole. I felt, as much as being can sense in the fresh wink of abstraction, known only to anyone ever to come from the physic drift of forlorn night, can feel or partake in the vividness we lumberly call being awake. The boiling brood of cells in my meek, though rarely modest brain, I remember the Atmen, Batten, and the beginning of Besuchen spirits that had visited me in my slumber. The thunder, the provoking cascade of harmonic plasma that swam about me, the whiling and twirling of mystic orbs that defined themselves as people I knew in life, all neatly or wildly, maybe even obtusely, visited upon me the images of rare and refined meaning. I could not help then to reflect how obstinately sitting, or rather lurking like a drowned rat in the corner room, sat a baked spirit, a being all too much like Kerouac, but more astute with fire, and more soul-scrying than old Jack could manage. This figure, this phantom of Dionysian fire, burned and consumed me. I could not chance a turn of eye or a blink, for what residue, what vibe might fly and flit away. I had to drink and become drunk on the vision, as if I had found her pest convalescing in the broken waters of the Nile. All the while, for a while, I stood a form without definition, starring and jarring like a ghost in memorandum of life, gawking at this creature of my insanity, when suddenly the world broke and the shadows turned ice cold, and all that was living now turned to stones of chilled convalescence. The figure then stood up, and eyes like hematite and fair like sapphire walked toward me in a haphazard gaiety, like a crocodile that made a mastery of stilts. It was like Daly painted a Kerouac fever dream, then asked Blake to whisper it back through a prism of holy lunacy. It spoke like Ginsberg howling at the uncontainable waters, bursting from a dam, a hellish wash of water that consumed me in its wake. It blurted out a Germanic hymn, Nun verlass ich diese Hütte. So I replied, meiner liebsten Aufenthalt. Then nothingness crashed like an atom bomb, and chaos enraged itself with Schubertian overtones and Rilkean power. The regimentals of Cimmerian bleakness were then Amphigean and Apoidian, and the next bedeviled vox spirit emerged, blossomed or transgressed my sense, and turned all spectral void into a yellow and sweet rose. My nose orgasmed with glee, and my body died and became resurrected all in a millisecond. I could sense the peace and the primordial humors of time and space flutter and flicker into a supernova of meaning. Upon the head of the flower, if flowers are allowed to have heads, was sitting a heavy, bold, and brilliant hemhemet crown, and with the curves and lines of the petals, one could see her Heki and Ra passing down the river in his serpent boat. Then, with a bravado only violence to increase and produce, the clash of swords and the roaring of chariots rushed out of the flower's bosom and advanced with amarylite tones of furta and grace. Eros and mangled, I fell to the ground with my vitality, my crimson burn torturing the hot sands of mythic lands and cultivating them with the divine that lived stagnant within me. Now without me, I was turned inside out, and my sanguine essence chanted, like monks ablaze with zealotry for the return of Jehovah to a lost temple. Then a bulrush of torrent and yet politely tremulous wind befell me, and the scent of holiness remembered my senses, and I was awoken by the presence of the Holy God of Israel. The end.